And welcome back to coverage here of the Magic the Gathering World Championship. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon, and we are in Las Vegas, Nevada. And it is Top 8 Sunday here. We just had our first quarterfinal end, and that of course means that we're going to move on to our next one. Our next one is Reid Duke versus Anthony Lee. We can take a quick look at the big picture bracket to see how things are facing up for our competitors. You see down in the bottom there, Simon Nielsen with that quick 3-0 over Lorenzo has moved on to the semifinals and will await the winner of Kosaka versus Willie Adel down there. But again, we're going to move our attention up to the top. Reid Duke against Anthony Lee. Reid Duke is having a career season in a already celebrated career, and Anthony Lee has really burst onto the scene here as this is his first top finish, and you know, he's let his play and his personality shine through here, and he's got a lot of followers real quick.
Oh yeah, he's made a lot of fans. I mean, watching him play makes me just want to play with him.
Same,
right?
Yeah.
I just want to play a game of Magic with Anthony. He just seems like an absolute delight to play
against. You know who else wants to play a game of Magic with Anthony? Reid Duke. He has done so twice over the course of the tournament and dispatched him both times. He's looking to do so a third time, and there's a few things to note as we come into the match. First and foremost, Reid is up 2-0. This is going to be the first sideboarded game, and Reid just needs to win one of the next 3 to advance to the semis. There's Anthony there from Australia. Now, the other thing to note here is that we've got another race happening, not just for the World Championship, but also for the Player of the Year. And it turns out that the 2 people who are still in contention are Simon Nielsen and Reid Duke. Simon has the lead, and if he's able to either equal or best Reid, he will be Player of the Year. Reid needs to go one step further into this tournament than Simon does if he's going to be Player of the Year. So right now, the pressure's on Reid. Not that he didn't have enough pressure already, just trying to stay alive, but if Reid can't close this out, Simon's your Player of the Year, and that checkbox will be done, and he can concentrate on trying to win the World Championship from here. All right, let's get underway here in game number 3. Anthony's going to kick things off with Duress. What does he see? Virtue of Persistence. There's a Sunfall in there.
There's 2 Virtues and a Herd Migration as well. There are 3 lands in Reid's hand. So this will just come down to the threats that Anthony might have in his hand to figure out what he takes.
Herd Migration.
Going for the Herd Migration. The Virtue of Persistence, knowing that you have the Virtue of Persistence, maybe you can craft your creature drops in a way where you're just ready for this, right? If you just play a Mosswood Dread Knight, it's not the end of the world to get that Virtued.
How about Liliana of the Veil? Little blast from the past here.
Yeah. No Ossification or Leyline Binding in Reid Duke's hand, so no great answer for this. Reid notably actually brought in the singular copy of Obstinate Baloth in a sideboard for this instance. It's like, hey, I know you have Liliana. It's one of the best cards in the matchup. I'm going to bring in the Baloth to get you.
And Anthony, of course, clearing the way with that Duress just to make sure.
Right.
Not that Reid couldn't have found it, but it's just, as you say, a 1. All right, tap land here for Reid, as is the custom for this deck.
Yeah, but Liliana, it's just a ticking time bomb, right? I mean, if you can get that up to 6 and utilize the ultimate on Liliana, it's so hard for any deck, but especially the ramp deck, to come back from that, right? You just destroy half your opponent's lands, and they just can't cast any of their spells.
Dread Whispers there for Anthony means that the Mosswood Dread Knight will follow shortly.
And so both players will be making their decision, as you can see. Then this card at the same time.
Yeah, you do it at the same time. That way there's not an information advantage gained.
And Anthony going, hey, you want to Virtue this? I'm okay with that.
Right. I just want more cards out of the deal anyway.
Right.
So things looking really good for Anthony.
Yeah.
He's just been, you know, Duress, Liliana, Mosswood Dread Knight.
This is the ideal start if you're on the Golgari side. Anthony does know how bad this matchup is. But after sideboard, I mean, you get to take out all your bad removal spells. You get to go up to the full 4 copies of Duress. You get to bring in a couple of Phyrexian Arenas, some Terra Sunders to kill the Leyline Bindings. It does get better. But down 2-0, still a major dog here. Big hill to climb here for Anthony Lee.
No doubt about it. All right, this will help Reid Duke build up his mana base here. He's got Invasion of Zendikar. He can go get 2 basics.
Yeah, so this was big because now Reid has at least 1 turn here to play a 7-drop, right? Because he can go land into 7-drop before Anthony can ultimate the Liliana of the Veil that's in play.
Yeah, it also means that an ultimate won't be quite as devastating. It could leave Reid with like some amount of lands to start to rebuild. All right, tell me if you've seen this play before.
Yep, Masu
Red
Dread Knight.
Whispers, yeah. Anthony said he was aware that a lot of people would be rooting for Reid. He said he's the people's champion. And then he admitted that part of him was rooting for Reid.
And some of his best friends.
And he said his friends were rooting for Reid too.
It's hard to root against Reid, to be fair.
It is, it is. I don't know, maybe he's just motivating himself. You know, like some sports teams will be, nobody believed in us, you know.
So that's the second Virtue of Persistence, which is a little bit scary if you're Anthony. So both Virtue of Persistences have been discarded. If Reid has something like an Atraxa in hand, would be able to play it out this turn. The Liliana's at 6. Can Reid find an answer to this Liliana?
Okay. Tick-tock. So an answer or, as you said, something really powerful to do to try to carry him through. Also, there's interesting decision points by Anthony regarding when do you fire off the ultimate. Oftentimes you just do it once you can, but if given the chance, sometimes they'll go +1 again and then ultimate the next turn.
Right.
And keep your Liliana around, because having a Liliana post-ultimate's really strong too. So let's see what Reid can do. He would love to play anything that could just add a bunch of permanents to the battlefield so that it could soften the blow. Or, of course, if he can find an actual answer for Liliana, would be perfect.
Yeah, is this like an ossification? Nope.
No. It's up to Beanstalk. But again, that's another permanent. Like, those are going to go into the piles if the ultimate happens.
That is another permanent. But, I mean, if the Liliana goes off, if we can find a way to come back from that.
5 mana?
Sunfall and draw. Yep.
Okay, so Liliana Ultimate will go off next turn.
So this is Sunfall when the Sunfallen's good. He's going to take care of one of the
Haven't done this all tournament.
the Dread Knights, but here we go. Liliana of the Veil is set to ultimate.
I mean, if I was going to Liliana anybody.
He said
Yeah,
hasn't
that
done
is
this.
true.
Hasn't done this all tournament.
And that was a nod to the fact that Reid Duke has played many, many, many copies of Liliana of the Veil in his career, particularly in Jund in the older formats, but kind of anywhere he can. But again, you know, every permanent added to the battlefield can help mitigate a little bit here for Reid, and he got an incubator token plus the up to Beanstalk.
This is going to be a really interesting split. You're at the very least, it's going to be 3 lands to 4 lands, I feel. I don't think you want to allow Reid to get up to 5 lands, right? Reid will most likely keep the pile with 5 lands.
Right.
So you can go 3 lands, 4 lands, and then put some of the permanents that's in play with the 3-land pile.
Yeah, I don't know what the most important one is. It's kind of interesting, because Incubator actually could do something this game, where up the Beanstalk's at least a few turns away no matter which pile, and then there's not much pressure currently.
Yeah, you don't want to
battle.
you don't want to put the Beanstalk with the 3-land with the 4-land pile,
no,
right?
No, that's bad.
So you might want to put the Beanstalk with the 3-land pile. And then you also have to think about the type of mana that Reid will have access to depending on how you split these lands.
Right.
Right? So now on the bottom you have the Jund colors, and then up top, if you take the top pile, you don't have access to black mana.
Right, it's all the white mana.
With a single green, so you can't cast a Topiary Stomper.
This does make some sense here, Anthony, saying you can have all the non-land permanents with the smaller land pile, or if you really want the 4 lands, you can go for that.
Yeah. Could potentially put the 1/1 token with the 4 lands, maybe, or the battle.
I kind of like it like this.
Because then
definitely not the up to Beanstalk, like you said. That's the one that you just can't.
So if you do this, I mean, of course, everything depends on what Reid has in hand.
Of course.
But at the very minimum, Liliana the Veil is going to be taking 4 permanents away.
No, it's worse if it's in a bigger one.
Yep.
This is a very important decision.
So like these 4 and these 7.
Thank you.
Yep.
So now Reid's going to think.
Okay, that's good. If he has to think, then.
Yeah, you did
good.
Good job.
Anthony's great.
I didn't mess it up that badly.
Yeah, because you know if Reid was like this one, it was like, no!
Yeah. It's like number 1, 3 lands to 4, figure out the rest.
Right.
Sacrifice this
And he's
pile.
going to sacrifice that pile. So that means that Anthony really did do a good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
As he's limited not only the color of mana that Reid has, but also the amount. He's losing 3 lands. But does Anthony have something to follow up? Oh, how
another
annoying!
Liliana.
Another Liliana of the Veil. And he's out of
Jeez.
cards, so he's going to plus.
And the Mosswood Dread Knight comes into play here.
Jeez. You know who's jealous right now? Reid. He loves doing
He's
all
like,
of
wait,
these things.
this is my thing. What are
Yeah.
you doing?
I do have to say, if I'm Anthony, though, and I look over and I see that Reid Duke is not playing the deck that I'm playing, I'm a little bit sad because,
Yeah.
you know, Reid basically looks for an excuse to play that type of archetype.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty simple for Reid. He just could not beat the ramp deck when playing the mid-range deck. Expected the ramp deck to be a larger part of the field and didn't want to play against a deck that really struggled. Turns out Golgari mid-range was actually a pretty decent choice in this field, given that there was a ton of Esper mid-range.
Yeah, but that statement that you said has held up, Paul.
Yeah.
Anthony has also not been able to beat Reid. In fact, I believe he 2-0'd him in the Swiss with like 2 games to 0, and now he's up 2 games to 0 here too.
Yeah.
Now this game's looking pretty good for Anthony, so maybe he'll finally take one off of him, but it does look like a steep hill to climb, no doubt about it.
I mean, Reid's going to be on the play for the next 2 games, right? If Anthony takes this one, that's a tough thing to overcome if you're the Golgari mid-range deck.
And in response, I'll go for the throw. Dread Knight.
He's going to go for the throat, his own Dread Knight.
Right, just to draw some cards.
Yeah.
Go for the throw resolves. I will Bird Migration.
Sure.
23.
Yep. Keep another line for you.
Just to gain some life, basically.
Yeah. I wonder if does
he's
he
gonna
want the
lose the
land?
card.
Do you want to fail to find?
Yeah, probably,
failed to
right?
find,
Yeah,
yeah.
why discard it,
Right.
right? Yeah.
Reid's on the, I'm just going to try to hit 7 lands and just top deck something at this point. But Liliana's close to 6 again.
I don't think I've ever seen Liliana ultimate twice in one game on camera.
I don't think so either. Now, Reid is at 23, so it's going to take a little bit of time for Anthony to finish the game off. But hey, when you're putting Reid down to 3 lands and no cards in hand, this Dread Knight just might be good enough. Oh, no land. So what does Reid have in hand where he passes? Is it just a big card?
Could just be a 7-ball,
Oh.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be the worst possible card to draw in this instance.
Absolutely.
Could be a Leyline Binding.
I was thinking that too, because he can
Right?
wait till he pluses.
Yeah,
Huh.
that would be the best possible draw.
That would be really nice. He'll get an extra card out of Anthony's hand and not have to pay the piper later.
Take this up.
Respond.
Oh, respond?
It is
it
a
was a
Leyline
Leyline
Binding.
binding. Oh, we had
Wow.
a good idea, Paul. Okay, and now the trigger will resolve, and that's gonna looks like a
Okay,
swamp
so
out of
now you're
hand.
just facing off against a 3/2 at 20 life.
Yeah, that's a lot of time to play with. A ramp spell. How about invasion?
5 mana.
Times to you.
Oh, okay.
All right, doesn't want to draw
Archangel of
cards.
Wrath.
Okay.
22.
And he just went upstairs, yeah.
I believe Anthony does have a Takenuma in hand, though.
Channel talk to him.
He's gonna channel it.
Ooh, it's a Nissa.
I guess I'll
Can I
take
read
this
it?
one.
Yeah, sure.
In English.
Yep. Balancing this one.
Reid taking a quick double check on Nissa Ascended Animist here. Not a lot of good news on that card. And so he's gonna
Wow.
do the completed cost for half.
Yeah, so it's going to come in with 5 loyalty, I believe.
That's correct.
And yeah, oh, this is phenomenal. So
Cool.
And he's gonna snap off the ley
they've
line
killed
binding.
yep, and then sacrifice. Oh,
Wow, wow,
jeez.
wow. Incredible for
Takenuma.
Anthony Lee. That Takenuma ended up being an avalanche of value, and it's crashing down on Reid Duke's side of the board right now. Boy, it looked like Reid might be able to turn it around with that binding, but Takanuma said no thank you. Now 2 planeswalkers and a creature.
And a tortoise.
And he's got a blossoming tortoise as well.
And hits a cottage. Oh, there was already cottage in the yard.
Oh boy.
Yeah. It's at this point, this is just too much. What was that?
Can't quite see what that is, but
I believe it was an Anoint with Affliction, maybe?
yeah.
And doesn't have black mana?
Yep. So that was, again, Liliana's handiwork from before.
Yep.
Draw a go here from Reid Duke, but he's not going to get to keep that card in hand unless it's an instant. But this game's going to be over quite quickly just from damage as well, because you see the token coming in from Nissa.
So will not be a clean sweep here for Reid Duke.
No, he's going to have to earn it.
It's a 5/5 Restless Cottage plus the Tortoise.
Is this lethal?
This is an attack for 16.
That's lethal.
That is lethal.
Going through the motions here.
Another cottage.
Cool. Can I have a look at your graveyard? Yeah, sure.
Right before I can see.
Right. I just want information.
Right. Remember, this is the first sideboarded game, so Reid's going to be looking for any potentially relevant sideboard cards that he may want to play
I'm
around.
counting 16 damage, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Good game.
And Reid says GG. So we're going to go to a game 4. Reid looking to try to finish off Anthony Lee, but will not be so simple. That was a very impressive showing by Anthony. Both players on 6 here, Paul. I'm not sure who that benefits, but there's a duress to start things off. What is it? Sunfall. Wow, that's a lot of targets.
There's an up the beanstalk too, which might be an interesting one to take, especially if you have if you have another duress in hand. Reid is pretty far away from Invasion of Zendikar. The up the beanstalk.
Yeah.
Yep, takes the beans.
Takes the beans. Does seem like the right play.
Swamp go.
Swamp go here from Reid.
Okay.
Can Anthony get some forward progress going, whether it's damage or Liliana or whatever? And the answer is sort of. He's working on it. Dread Whispers.
Double
Keep his
swamp.
hand going. Did Reid find his 3rd land? Yes, he did. Spar's headquarters hits for Reid Duke. That's clutch, because if he can hit a land next turn.
It's land number 4. Does have a Stomper in hand too.
He has a Topiary Stomper?
Yeah, he does.
Okay, so that will work as well.
Liliana.
That's
Okay.
not bad, but
It's not bad.
he's got some
He's like no
expendables here.
No Baloth, no Baloth.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe just Sunfall at this point. Yeah, it's going to be Sunfall. No threats on the board yet, and it's a long way off from casting. Is there a land here for Reid?
An untapped land specifically.
Untapped would be perfect, but he doesn't have that
lots
many.
of triomes.
Yeah,
so.
not that many untapped, but is it a forest?
That is a forest.
Oh, he drew a forest off the top.
Now it's interesting because you could still play the Stomper this turn, and if Reid doesn't minus Liliana, next turn you play the invasion, and then you can attack the Liliana. So curious what Reid does. But if you just play the invasion, you're at 6 lands. 6 lands.
He's just going to go big.
unlocks.
Yeah. That's tempting, because if you can get Anthony to minus Liliana, it takes so much pressure off of that ultimate.
Right.
The run up to ultimate is really annoying, but you get to keep a card in your hand, and it delays it by a full 2 turns.
So Reid's down to 2 cards. So Liliana will put in some work, but Reid putting himself in an excellent position to top deck the multitude of giant threats that he has in deck. Saw Stomper. Did you recall what the last card was?
Angel?
Oh, it was the Angel? Okay, the Angel would, of course, be really solid here. You can take the Liliana down to 1.
And we do see him get a couple of planes there, so.
Right. Anthony's mana situation seems to be a little awkward here, right?
It does,
all black
black.
mana.
Oof.
Normally, you don't want to play the Takenuma unless it's your last land. So no green here for Anthony Lee.
Yeah, we saw him play Dread Whispers, but it felt like he probably just wants to keep setting up and keep ahead of his Liliana or whatever. But Maybe it was because he just was trying to find green mana.
Yeah, I thought he would have played Deathcap Blade on turn 3, right? Because he was able to go 1-drop, 2-drop. But the Takenoma means he doesn't have green mana.
All right, Reid's just going to ditch the Stomper.
Does he have a play this turn?
It was a good dino. All right, the Cottage will give him green mana, but not till next turn. So what can Reid do now?
With,
You also have the Angel to just deal 4 damage to the battle. You can deal 4 damage to the battle and then smack the Liliana still for 4.
Oh, with haste.
With haste.
You're right.
So that means you'll have 2 creatures in play.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I was thinking he would just go at Liliana, and then that's 1, so you can't minus it to kill the Angel, but I like your play a lot better.
Yeah,
It's the same effect, but you have a 4/4.
The only thing that Reid needs to consider then is, do you have Go for the Throat?
Oh, if
right?
if he
Because
gets a
the
kill.
Angel, if you go 4 to Liliana, that's guaranteed 4 damage. It goes down to 1. But if you have Go for the Throat on the Invasion of Zendikar, Liliana lives.
Yeah.
And then you minus and you kill the Angel after that.
That's really tough, but it is the higher upside play, and Reid's definitely feeling the pressure.
Going for it.
He's going for it. That is going to transform.
Attack Liliana.
Oh, and it works,
and
too.
it works. Oh, this is brutal.
What a swing for Reid Duke. Now Liliana of the Veil cannot minus to kill a creature. She's under a lot of pressure. There's clearly no removal spell for Anthony, and he finally just now has access to green mana for the first time.
So I believe I saw a Shieldred in Anthony's hand, so could run that out. It is a nice blocker.
I think that's the first time that anybody casts Shieldred and the opponent's like, oh, that's fine.
Typically, it's not too bad for the ramp deck.
Yeah. It's also worth noting here that Reid's going to get rid of the Beanstalk. The Awakened Skyclave is Reid's 7th mana source, and 7 is an inflection point for his deck.
Oh, that is a Rankle's prank.
He just had him sacrifice 2 creatures?
2 creatures.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
Probably dealt the damage as well.
Yeah.
Right?
And Reid did find
Wow,
land number
that
7,
was
but he's on
big.
empty. Now, Reid has top decks that can get him right back in
Oh,
this,
absolutely.
but he is going to need to find one.
Yeah, I mean, Liliana's at 2. It's a long way before that one can ultimate here. But that's a Shieldred.
Okay,
that's
that's
a
pressure.
clock.
That's pressure. Reid's thinking, just give me one of my 7s.
So many good top decks here for Reid Duke. Herd Migration, Atraxa.
With no double green mana available for Anthony, he's just going to go ahead and plus Liliana to keep that ultimate threat alive. He does have to discard a Blossoming Tortoise to do so. Does Reid find a 7?
How nervous are you if you're Anthony and Reid just casually putting his hands over all of his lands?
Oh, my heart would jump. Reid's thinking a little too long for my taste if I'm Anthony right now.
I mean, if it's anything big, he's just going to play it, right?
Right,
So
100%.
Zero cards.
Yep.
I guess, you know, if he drives a
Sunfall?
Leyline Binding, it could be interesting on what you would choose.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And when.
Cycling.
Oh, okay. He's just going to
okay.
cycle Jetmir's Garden. Oh. He's going to lose this card if he doesn't play it. It's just another land.
Oh. Okay.
Back over to Anthony. Now he has. It's all working for him here.
If Anthony can find a forest,
Green source to fire up the Cottage.
that's
a very
lot of
quick
damage.
block.
Oh, just a swamp.
He laughs because it wasn't a forest.
Right, but get in for 4 and play a Masu Dread Knight, still solid. Reid down to 14, then going to 12 on his turn.
Yeah, he's only going to have another turn if there's a green
Yeah, you
source.
and then I'm passing it.
Yep, all good.
Yeah, 12.
Draw,
Oh.
trigger, go. It was just a forest.
Reid has 1 draw here.
Oh, and there
Oh.
is a green source for him.
Yeah, and that's lethal.
Yeah, the draw step will kill him.
And
It's 11.
11 plus 2 from the Shieldred draw trigger.
Right. Wow, Rankle's prank.
Rankle's prank, the one of
Unbelievable.
in the board.
You're gonna want to make a food. I'll take this out, pass.
Okay,
And
so
Anthony-
Oh, yeah,
Anthony-
there's a triggered ability on the
You
stack.
can draw hard migration, I guess.
I actually did draw Herd Migration.
Okay, he can live, but it doesn't do
doesn't
anything. Yeah, that's funny. So the triggered ability goes on the stack after you draw, so he could cycle at gain 3 and technically be alive, but he would just lose to the board. So that means that we're going to get a game 5 Reid was up
Anthony
2-0 when we came in.
going for the reverse sweep here.
I'm looking for Liliana of the Veil. Like, that card's been unreal.
How about that one?
Yeah, Duress too.
An oldie but a goodie. Duress, okay. Are we taking the herd migration here? I know Anthony's been pretty aggressive at just trying to take any lands away from Reid Duke.
Well, Reid keeps on having 2 landers as well, and he keeps taking the 2-mana play, right? I mean, if Reid has 4 lands here, it looks a lot different, but yeah.
I think
It's
just gonna
really
take the
tempting to
here.
just take the migration.
Yep.
So Reid has not only his World Championship tournament on the line, but also Player of the Year contention on the line this game.
Oh, yeah.
We are in single elimination. Yes, it's best out of 5, so there's a cushion there, but this is lose and go home time for these players.
Yes.
Both players kept 7, by the way. Anthony Lee with a Forest on turn 2.
Another duress, it looks like.
Just ripping his hand apart here.
Okay. So not going to Liliana.
There's that obstinate Baloth that showed up.
So now probably taking the invasion.
I'll take the invasion.
Correct.
And now Reid just needs to naturally draw a
He just has
bunch
to
of
start
lands in a
peeling
row.
lands. This is rough.
That was not a land.
No,
that was a virtue.
Persistence.
Go.
And he just has to pass the turn back over.
Oh my goodness.
This is not where Reid wanted to find himself.
Missing your 3rd land drop. I mean, this deck has so many lands. Getting aggressive here. Reid missed his land drop, right? It's like, all right, I'm just playing this Dread Knight.
I'm just going to start
To
attacking
get you dead here as quickly as possible. Reid
hit
needs
a
lands.
He needs to hit a couple in a row here. How is he going to get back into this if he doesn't?
Oh, okay.
He
got
did
a
find
land.
a land.
He got a land. He does have a leyline binding.
It's also critically an island,
right.
which is a land type he didn't have.
So now leyline binding costs 2 mana.
Right.
If Reid can find, particularly an untapped land here, right? You have Baloth, you can play, get in the way.
Buffer his life total could buy him a lot of time.
Will Anthony Lee be able to take advantage of the fact that Reid stumbled for 1 turn?
Also, what does Reid fire the binding off on?
Right.
Here's Blossoming Tortoise now.
It's a land. Not the best leyline binding target, but might, as you get that value, but might have to do it anyways if you can't kill it, right? Because it's just going to get you value every turn.
Reid's facing down 2 3-powered creatures. He's got to feel pressure to use up his mana this turn in case he finds lands and can start deploying other things.
But
nope, he's going to draw his card for the turn.
hey,
Lando?
yeah, I suppose he waited for the draw because if he goes land, he can maybe just go land Baloth and hope Anthony Lee doesn't have a removal spell. Then Anthony is unlikely to attack with the creatures in play.
Oh, and there it is, a land.
Oh, untapped land, okay.
Binding your tortoise. Yep.
Okay.
He's going to bind in the tortoise now and then pass.
Right, that's 2 big draws there from Reid.
I guess he's keeping the Baloth as potential Liliana insurance.
Right, it really shuts off Liliana.
It does. Get in for 3 more, down to 14 goes Duke. You know Simon Nielsen's watching this very closely. If Reid loses this, Simon is your player of the year.
Now, I believe Anthony knows about the Sunfall. Reid only has 1 white source in play, though. What can Anthony do here?
Find some way to keep the pressure.
Oh, pass.
He just passes the turn back. There's a glimmer of hope now for Duke.
Now, if you're on Reid's side, you have to be thinking, okay, he just passed with 6 mana.
Right.
What is he holding
What is
here?
going on? I guess I would assume removal spell since he hasn't given him a target for anything yet.
What, and potentially a Liliana?
Maybe a Liliana, yeah.
And Reid rattling off 3 lands in a row here.
But that one was not a white source, and so he is just going to go for the Baloth here.
But Anthony, patient with that Liliana, can now play it this turn, minus to kill the Baloth and still attack.
Yeah, Reid just probably felt like he couldn't keep it in hand anymore. He needed to do something this turn. He can't just keep taking 3, 3, 3, 3.
Yeah. But good patience here from Anthony
There it
Lee
is,
holding
Liliana minus. When Liliana gets a minus and kill your Obstinate Baloth, that feels real bad.
Right. You're not doing what you were designed to do.
This card's supposed to beat that one.
Right. But still, I mean, if you're Reid, you still rattled off 3 lands in a row there after missing the land drop.
The only thing
you are so in this game.
Right. He's missing a second white source because I believe he has both Sunfall and Archangel in hand. That's the only tough part for him. But yeah, I mean, he's in this thing.
But that Tortoise was fantastic. It hit a Restless Cottage. And Reid does not have an untapped white to play Sunfall this turn.
He drew Spara's Headquarters.
Oh, okay, so 1 turn delayed here.
Yeah, he's
Does
going
he
to
have
have to
anything
play
else?
Let's see.
A
He's not taking
Topiary Stomper?
15, right?
Okay.
The Virtue of Persistence from before.
Yes.
Hey, that's nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the second white source in the waiting in the wings there is really good for Reid.
Yeah, that gives you a little bit of protection if Anthony plays another creature this turn, like a Shieldred.
And if he can double kick an Archangel, he could potentially take out both Liliana and the Dread Knight here.
Possibly, or just go to the face. I don't know if Reid wants to actually kill the Dread Knight as it does
so Liliana and
Anthony's
face.
cards. Yeah.
Fair.
This is going to be a decent sized attack here from Anthony Lee with that Restless Cottage, getting an attack in for 7.
Really close game 5. Reid Duke versus Anthony Lee. Anthony fighting back from 2 games to 0. And he's ahead in this game as well. He faced Reid twice over the course of the tournament, was not able to defeat him either time. But if he can beat him,
that would be
here in the quarters, that's the one you
down
want to win.
0-2 in your worst possible matchup and clawing back, eliminating one of the greats.
Anthony's been fighting all weekend.
And by the way, also helping his teammate in the process. Simon Nielsen is Anthony Lee's teammate. And if he beats Reid Duke, Simon Nielsen is your player of the year.
So would Anthony get like half of that? Half
of the trophy?
Yeah, half of the trophy, right. Probably not, but yeah, so there's a lot riding on the line by default when the players sit down at a World Championship top 8, but we've got a lot more piled up here as well.
So Anthony's hand must be really nice.
Yeah, he doesn't, oh, he didn't plus it.
Huh.
He did pass, right?
Does he have a Takenuma in hand or something?
Right, I guess.
What he's thinking.
3 mana, 2 green and a color? Glissa? Oh.
Sentinel of Lost Lore.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Goes to the bottom or shuffles?
Bottom.
Yeah,
Hey.
he gets rid of the Virtue. I don't know if that was part of Reid's immediate game plan anyway, but he just does get back the Dread Knight that was adventuring.
This is a nice little one of as well in Anthony's deck.
I don't think the graveyard getting exiled is super important here, but it did happen. Good value play, and it is
About the
another
extra
threat.
card. Yeah.
The real question, though, when you look at this is, you know, he does know that Reid has Sunfall, so maybe he's got another Duress in his hand or something?
Or maybe just wanted to draw that extra card.
Yeah. Maybe he's just comfortable getting Sunfalled from this position with the action in hand.
Yeah, I mean, if Anthony had something like a Shieldred or something and goes, okay, well, this is probably enough for you to cast the Sunfall, then now I'll be able to follow that up with something else.
Right.
I'm gonna...
He is plussing Liliana, by the way.
Have you played a land this turn?
That's tough. There were so many game
It
actions.
was a long time ago, Reid.
No.
I did.
Yes, that is a good question. I was acknowledging. Sorry.
let me think. What was my... what did I start?
What was the previous turn?
The minus, I think, or something.
Previous turn was Liliana minus,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and I believe the tortoise also.
That was last turn.
That was less than as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
right?
they binding.
Judge
yeah.
hands
Well, I
coming in and
virtued the tortoise.
Yeah,
last
yeah,
turn.
yeah.
So
figuring
we've
out.
got
That one.
7 plus 1, 8.
There were
Oh.
two
Yeah, I
tortoise.
played this,
Yes.
and then he virtued it, right?
Yes. So I don't believe he played a land
Yeah.
based on this being
Yeah.
gas on the turn before and this successfully resolving.
Yeah.
Okay. I
And
think
we
I
have
agree.
8.
Thanks.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Actually, no, I'm not sure, but I'm satisfied with that.
Yeah.
With that ruling, thank you.
Yeah, so this is
Yeah,
really
yeah.
tough because Reid's hand is Archangel of Wrath and Sunfall. Oof. So he has to choose which one to get rid of.
Keeping the Sunfall.
Kept the Sunfall.
All right.
There's land number 7 for Duke. He's going to Sunfall.
And has the mana to make the 2/2.
Unfortunately for him, it does not have haste.
Right.
But fortunately for him, it's not a creature just yet, so,
So
it is safe from Liliana.
Anthony with the advantage here, right? You have
Definitely.
the Liliana in play. You have that cottage on the battlefield. But Reid is set up nicely here. 7 mana, that's the magic number.
This is going to be really close.
Herd migration.
It's just like last game.
Yep.
If he rips a 7, he could probably wrestle control of this game from Anthony. But if he just has a couple of blank draw steps, Anthony is going to start pounding that life total, and he'll close out this game very quickly.
And you know what? That Sentinel of Lost Lore was relevant, right? That Virtue of Persistence, I mean, that would have been a 7-drop we could have played.
Sure.
Get that Tortoise from the graveyard, get some extra value.
Absolutely.
Archangel of Wrath in the yard.
Every little bit counting here for Anthony.
Oh, Terra Sunder.
Terra Sunder to exile the Leyline Binding.
I don't think there's any lands in here.
Is he actually not going to get a land off of this?
Doesn't look like it.
No.
But it got the
He
Tortoise
missed it.
back.
But he does get another
this
3/3.
does make the activation on the cottage 1 cheaper, and it's a 5/5 getting in this turn.
So 2-turn clock, not quite.
Does
5 down to 9. Yeah, so he
Wow.
can kill him next turn with nothing, although
Reid does have a
Reid
chump.
has a blocker, so. I wonder if he just cashes in the incubator token for 5 life.
Right. So let's say you do that. Next turn, that's an attack for 11 damage. So wouldn't die next turn.
So 2 draw steps for Reid.
Yeah.
I'd take that deal. And remember, he's going to need all of his mana if he does find one of his big 7.
Right. So probably want to activate this and block, because if you draw 7, you're just slamming that 7, right?
Right. That's what I'm thinking, at least.
And Herd Migration would be fantastic. You get 5 3/3s. I mean, it just blocks everything.
Yep. And can apply pressure to Liliana. It's also not Liliana-able.
Right.
The minus wouldn't really do that much. So yeah, Reid is going to go ahead and chump block, maintain his life total.
Big
Can
draw
he
step.
find a 7?
7 needs a
Something
7.
huge off the top of the library here. Maybe an Atraxa. Herd Migration.
Another Sunfall.
I don't know if Virtue would be good here.
Leyline Binding.
Looks like it. He's going to take out the Tortoise.
Okay, so gets
Well,
it.
he wasn't dying next turn either way.
It's still a 2-turn clock though, right?
Yes.
Because this is an attack for 7 and Reid's at 14.
Reid has no cards in hand, so Liliana's not going to take away anything critical. Buy him another draw step. This is so close. Anthony Lee trying to get across the finish line against one of the toughest opponents in the game.
And at this point, I don't even know if Atraxa gets it done, because Anthony has that Liliana on 2, can just minus it and
Good
then
point.
attack for 7, unless we can find untapped land and another Leyline Binding to go with the Atraxa. So we might just be thinking about Herd Migration here.
Herd Migration or bust?
Removal spell or Herd Migration.
Right. Yeah, chaining
Archangel.
together removal spells. Archangel would be good.
Oof.
But Anthony, the cards keep flowing. Mosswood Dread Knight is one of his primary card advantage engines, and it's been really good to him.
Oh, another
Oh,
Cottage.
another Cottage.
Attack for 7
But
and exile the Sun.
The Tortoise is gone, so
Reid has 1 turn here. Anthony's 1 turn away from pulling off the reverse sweep on Reid Duke.
what can he find? And he says go. Does Reid find what he needs here?
Oh,
Oh, he
a
found
Traxa.
a Traxa. But is this actually enough? Let's find out.
Needs a planes and a
There's
ley line
a
binding.
planes.
Ley line binding?
9, 10.
Nope.
No ley line binding.
And that means that Liliana of the Veil can minus and clear the way for a lethal attack.
There is just no way, right, that Reid can generate.
I don't think they play anything else that only costs 1.
There's a Mirex and a Boseiju. Does Boseiju do anything? Right? You can go Mirex. Boseiju ability only costs 1 mana.
Well, it does. It takes out non-basics, right?
Yeah, but there's double Restless Cottage in play.
But he can't activate both.
He can't activate both, right?
Or actually, he could if he finds a land.
Oh, no, you can't take Mirex and Boseiju. They're
Right.
both lands.
Right,
you can
right,
only
right.
take one or the other.
Right.
Oh,
and of
so
course-
close.
and of
Needed
course-
that one turn before.
Yeah, and he doesn't have. Yeah. Oh, that's so rough for Reid. He's so close.
Artifact, creature, and land.
And he actually only hit 3 things.
Play the Murex. That's your turn.
And this is Reid just playing it out.
Right?
But Anthony has the tools he needs to eliminate Reid Duke and advance to the semifinals.
-2. Activate.
3 games in a row.
Get you.
And there it is, minus from Liliana of the Veil. And just 1 cottage will do fine, thank you.
It will. 7 damage coming in.
He's going to activate the cottage.
Does he have another untapped land?
Well, he needs one if he's going to do that. And there you go. He's got an insurance plan. Everything's coming in. And Anthony Lee has knocked out Reid Duke. And that is your player of the year right there. Cheery not only for his teammate, but also for his own accomplishment. Oh, my God. What a run by Anthony, beating Reid Duke in 3 sideboarded games. And he's even getting a little photo there.
What a comeback. For Anthony
Unbelievable.
Lee. Defeated by Reid twice in the Swiss. Knows how bad the matchup is. Down 0-2. Back against the wall and rattles off 3 in a row against the Hall of Famer.
So many duresses and Lilianas.
a lot of
Even
them.
Reid Duke couldn't overcome it. All right, well, we've got Cedric with our winner right now.
Anthony, you have had a whirlwind of a tournament.
Yeah.
To say the very least. Top of the standings after day 1. Some ups and downs in day number 2. 8th seed coming in. And then staring at you, Reid Duke. Scary stuff, scary stuff. And then you start this match down 0-2. In that moment, what the heck were you thinking?
Need to get pretty lucky to win 3 in a row, especially against Reid in this matchup too.
And you played him twice. You lost to him twice. And you might be thinking, okay, well, it's just not my weekend against this guy. And you just clawed all the way back.
I'd say 3rd time's a charm, I guess.
So tell me about this. Tell me how you're able to get back in what you've even said many times is a really bad matchup for you.
It's definitely a lot better for the Golgari deck post-board. You have to, like, their deck can stumble a little bit and you have to try to make that happen as much as possible. He had some slightly awkward draws and I had some particularly good ones in those games, I think, where he was just not able to get all the resources his deck needed, and I managed to get there with damage just barely. But the key point for me was that between Game 4 and 5, I decided to sideboard out the last Graveyard Trespasser for a Sentinel of Lost Law. I'm just looking over to see that Javier's not watching me because we weren't meant to do that. And that Game 5 Sentinel was absolutely key because it took away his virtue, it returned my Mosswood, it let me... It was a lot of value. I mean, I think I was kind of ahead there, but it was so much better than the Trespasser there. Could have been the difference, so... Yeah.
Hey, it's good to be fluid. It's good to be fluid. And, you know, there's a good chance Javier just never will see this, right?
I hope not. Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. Yep.
So, Javier, I know is someone that you've talked to a lot this week, and it's just been a really great source of encouragement along with the rest of the team. Now you move on to the top 4. You're finally by Reid. How you feeling? Think you can win this thing?
I hope so. I'll do my best. That's all I can say.
Well, Team Handshake is representing once again here in a major tournament. Anthony is moving on to our top 4.
Fantastic stuff from Cedric down there. We have 2 semifinalists, but we've got 2 more to bring you. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we'll be bringing you the other 2 quarterfinal matches. Don't go anywhere.